Once, there was a homeless man in New Haven, Connecticut. He always struggled with being poor and couldn't seem to change his situation. But one day, he found something important that made him decide between doing the right thing or taking a big opportunity. His decision set off a series of unexpected events he didn't anticipate. Winters in New England can be tough for most people, and dealing with the harsh conditions is something no one enjoys, especially someone like Elmer Alvarez, who was homeless. The freezing winds and rapidly accumulating snow were more perilous for him compared to someone with a warm home, car, and office. Nevertheless, Elmer had already endured several winters in New Haven, so he was well aware of the challenges the upcoming months would bring. His life had been even more challenging in the past due to his struggle with drug addiction, which had led him down a difficult path. Despite not having a stable place to sleep each night, he managed to overcome his addictions by attending NA meetings, a remarkable achievement considering the odds against him. However, finding a way out of homelessness continued to haunt him. Getting yourself off the streets is much easier said than done, but pacing the familiar streets one chilly November morning, Elmer walked right up to an opportunity. Right in the center of the path was a bit of paper. Most people walking by wouldn't give the scrap a second glance, but Elmer stopped and examined the forgotten note. It wasn't a discarded receipt or a bit of trash. The paper was a freshly signed check. Air whooshed from his lungs when his eyes landed on the amount written on the line. The amount of the check was a stunning $10,000. With it endorsed and ready to go, Elmer could have transformed his life with that kind of cheddar. No one was around. Nothing was stopping him from running to the nearest bank, but taking the money never crossed Elmer's mind, not for a second. He turned the check over, and lo and behold, a phone number was in fact listed on the back. Elmer walked the streets until he finally managed to track down a friend with a cell phone. As a Spanish speaker, he and his friend made the call to the check's addressee. At the same time, in an office a few blocks away, a prominent businesswoman heard her phone ring. Roberta Hosky, a self-made real estate magnate, was CEO and president of both Outreach Realty Services and Outreach School of Real Estate. She answered the call on the other line. Elmer's friend explained that his friend found her substantial check and wanted to return it to her. Roberta was floored. Had she really lost something so important? She rifled through her bag, not believing it was possible, only to quickly realize he was right. Shocked that someone was kind enough to reach out, she agreed to meet him immediately. Once on the street, Roberta opened Facebook Live to document the resolution of the stranger's good deed. She spotted Elmer and his friend and couldn't thank them enough for doing the right thing. With Elmer too polite to draw attention to himself, his friend let Roberta know that her savior was, in fact, homeless. This struck a chord with Roberta on a personal level that made the events all the more meaningful. See, before she was a high-powered real estate queen, Roberta faced similar obstacles to Elmer's. At 17 years old, Roberta was pregnant to care for her child. She had to drop out of school. She had been in a financially difficult place to begin with, but now, with another mouth to feed, she and her child had no choice but to enter housing shelters to avoid living on the streets. But thanks to a crucial internship at Yale University that catapulted her life out of debilitating poverty, Roberta was able to break out of the cycle, but she never forgot her time in the shelters. It was because of her past that she knew that her run-in with Elmer was not a coincidence. She resolved to take the opportunity to pay it forward in a big way. Telling Elmer to wait right there, she hurried back to her office to get her checkbook. She wanted to do more for Elmer than just give him some temporary reprieve. While brainstorming on Facebook Live, a suggestion from a follower gave her the idea. Roberta smiled and vowed, "I'm going to teach him how to fish." Back on the street, Roberta handed over a check, this one addressed to Elmer, and he burst into grateful tears. The pair hugged, and Roberta shared her own story with him. Elmer couldn't believe just how much they had in common. Their newfound connection. Fresh in their hearts, they parted ways. That's when Roberta put her plan into motion. But prejudice reunited them faster than Roberta expected. When Elmer went to cash his check, even with a signature and his ID, shockingly, the bank refused to help him. They suspected it was fraudulent just because Elmer wasn't their typical customer. A quick call to Roberta eased their unwarranted suspicion about the homeless man. 2 weeks later, Roberta arranged a meeting with Elmer. Thanks to her Facebook video, over 13,000 people heard about Elmer's good deed, and it piqued the interest of the news media. When Elmer walked in the door, he was greeted with applause by a packed room. He was totally overwhelmed. This wasn't what he expected when he agreed to meet. Crazier still, things were about to get even more surprising for him. First, Elmer was presented with a thank you certificate from Miss Millionaire Mindset, an organization aimed at combating poverty. Next, Roberta laid out her true plan to teach Elmer to fish. Instead of just paying him for his kindness and honesty, Roberta was going to teach him how to set himself up for success. Before classes started, Elmer would be taught to improve his English skills, but Roberta had another, even bigger surprise. Emotion strained her voice while she explained the best part of her plan. Roberta told him she found him a place to live, an apartment he could share with his girlfriend. With the first 6 months of rent and bills completely covered in full, emotion spilled over. Elmer wrapped Roberta in a hug that said everything he couldn't. Tears streaked his face, and the relief that he wouldn't face another night of the streets washed over him. But Roberta thought of everything, even beyond the 6-month gift. After taking the real estate classes, Elmer was set up with a standing job interview at her colleague's real estate office. Once he felt prepared, he could tackle the interview. So thrilled with gratitude, he burst out, "I'm ready now." But granting all Elmer's dreams wasn't Roberta's goal. She wanted to truly pay it forward. So, a few weeks later, they met up to see how he was progressing with his real estate classes. With her followers watching live, it was Elmer's turn to deliver some good news. Waiting to reveal the results of his real estate exam together, Roberta flipped the cover and beamed. Elmer had passed the test. Now just one test remained between him and an endless path of opportunity. Public interest in Elmer and Roberta's inspirational friendship continued to grow. In December, Spanish-language television station Telemundo invited the duo on a show to share their unique story. Elmer revealed that the catalyst was the sudden death of his 33-year-old brother. Tortured by grief, Elmer fell into a life of addiction and crime. All in all, he served 5 stints in jail and, in turn, lost contact with the rest of his family. Until the host told him to turn around. Standing on the stage were Elmer's 2 sisters. Viewers watched live as the family rejoiced in their emotional reunion. Roberta, who had been communicating via translator, wept. Right when his heart rate stabilized from the big reveal, there came another jolt. After many years of not seeing each other, Elmer's mother appeared on stage. This emotional moment made everyone cry. Elmer's decision to do the right thing started a series of important events. He had some incredible opportunities, and Roberta successfully achieved her goal of ending poverty. In just a few months, Elmer passed his final real estate exam with flying colors, and Roberta appointed him to the board of directors at her company. Motivated and determined not to waste his talents, Elmer became a member of the National Association of Realtors through a strange twist of fate. Roberta and Elmer worked together on a project through their nonprofit outreach foundation to help other homeless people. Their aim was to buy rundown properties and turn them into temporary homes with extra services, better than regular shelters for homeless individuals. This would give people the same chance that Elmer had been given.